The way that you are approaching your job search is holding you back from finding the job that you actually deserve. I'm Kendall, that career coach, and welcome back to our series where we are talking about maximizing your productivity. Today, focusing on how to land not only your next job, but the right job. It is important when you are in your job search that you are being strategic about how you are spending your time, your effort, and your resources as you build towards that dream job. And there's a few things that we're going to talk about today that will hopefully help make your job search a little bit easier and a little bit more productive. So first off is that you need to focus only on what you can measure. So when it comes to the job search, there are components of the job search that we don't have control over. Some of that is gut feel, gut connection, right? Did the hiring manager like us more than somebody else? We don't always have control over that. We also don't have control over the fact that if a job gets 700 resumes, does the recruiter actually look at ours? These are components of the job search today that are outside of our control. But what is in our control is how many jobs we are applying to, how well tailored our resume is for these ideal jobs, and then what does our networking and outreach look like? These three things are things that you can control in your job search. You can't control how many interviews you get, you can't control how many job offers, but you can control these three. So let's talk about how to do each one. So when it's focused on how many jobs you're applying to, I like to target no more than 8 jobs per week. And there's a reason for this. I know that sometimes people are like, oh, just apply to all the jobs. Sign up for that new AI tool that will apply to 1,000 jobs for you with no effort. I want you to apply to 8 or less quality jobs per week. These are jobs that are going to be the best fit for you. These are going to be jobs that are at a company whose culture and aspirations align with your own. This is going to be a role that allows you to continue to grow and develop in the ways that you want to. You want to be strategic about which roles you're applying to. And you want to keep those roles somewhat consistent between one another. You should know what you're targeting in your job search. If you're looking for product manager jobs and project manager jobs and analyst jobs and marketing campaign leader jobs, you're spread too thin. And we haven't honed in on what makes you unique and valuable to the company, which is where we need to live in order for you to be successful in your job search. So make sure you're targeting those 8 companies or 8 jobs at no more than 3 companies per week, right? So you could have 3 different companies next week, but kind of try to keep it consistent. That's going to help us when we think about how do we address the people aspect. So when you are looking for a job, Forbes recently did a study, I think it's been almost 18 months now, that said the 80% of jobs that are filled by referral. That's a lot. It's a super high percentage. So if you want to be in that, that means we need to have connections. So when we're targeting specific companies and we're targeting specific roles, then we can find the people who work in that different department and then we can get those referrals. So if you don't already know somebody at the company, you're going to go to their page on LinkedIn. So we'll use Capital One Bank as an example. Capital One, you're going to go to their page. Then you're going to go to the People tab on LinkedIn. And on the People tab, you're going to search for people in the titles that you are targeting, and ideally in your area if you're looking for in office. If you're looking for remote, any area will work. That will bring up all of the people who have similar titles to what you're trying to get and will allow you to build connections and message these individuals. Then we want to reach out, we want to build connection, we want to get to know them. I want you to study them first. Don't send them a generic like, hi, I really like Capital One, please hire me, here's my resume. Don't send that. Nobody's going to help with that, okay? I want you to research their page. Where did they go to school? How long have they worked there? What types of teams have they worked in? What types of titles have they held? What does some of their work experience look like? Are they connected with anybody else that you know? Do some research and then write a tailored message to that individual, right? There are some scripts for LinkedIn outreach that are on my website for sale. We'll link it in the show notes below that you can use and kind of customize depending on who you're reaching out to. But do your research and send them that customized outreach. Building connections with people is what's going to get you that referral. Now, if the hiring manager or the recruiter is listed, you obviously want to connect with both of them. And even if they don't reach out, even if they don't respond, even if they don't want to grab coffee with you, the reason this is important is because we're building name recognition. If I reach out to Susie Q, the hiring manager, and she sees my note, she's like, Kendall Berg wants to chat with me, she's interested in this role, I don't know, doesn't respond. But then Susie's looking through resumes 2 weeks later and goes, Kendall Berg, why does that sound so familiar? I feel like I know her. They're going to spend an extra second looking at your resume. That's all we need. We need that one extra second, that one extra bit of interest to keep them engaged. So you're going to target no more than 8 roles, 3 companies. You're going to target customized resumes for each of those roles within those consistent titles. And we're going to focus on outreach to people who work in those target roles where we can build connection. The second thing is we don't want to cast your net too wide. So I think LinkedIn Easy Apply kind of made this issue more exacerbated because you can just click apply and see what happens. Now, I have taken a job that I got off LinkedIn Easy Apply. I know everybody tells you not to apply that way. I did get a role that way once. But in general, even if you really like a role, you want to go to that company's website, you want to go to their career page, you want to apply directly, just because a lot of the time LinkedIn doesn't integrate with most companies' hiring systems. But it also kind of gives you too many options. Oh, here's 50 different companies that are hiring for a project manager. I could do project management, all of these different industries, and now we're applying to everything. You need to be tailored. You need to know what you want. So what you want is a job that is a good fit for your skills and experience. What you want is a job that's going to allow you to continue to grow and develop in your career, whether that's a more senior position or a position with a more senior runway. You need a job that is a good culture fit for you. The company's culture is going to align with yours. There are some golden ticket companies that everybody wants to work at. Think Amazon, Google, Disney. But they don't necessarily have the best culture. What they have is a high pay scale and they get you other jobs later. And maybe that's worth it to you. But we want to be really targeted with what we're looking for in that company. What culture aspects are important to us? What do we want out of a hiring manager? What's going to leave us being fulfilled? And then that's going to allow us to be really specific with what jobs we target in that job search. And then lastly, as you're optimizing your resume, I want you to think about keywords that actually will help you get that job. Don't be too vague or too general. Don't say, I have excellent executive presence. I'm sure you do. I want you to focus on metrics. I want you to focus on deliverables, and I want you to tailor them to the job that's actually specific to what you want to get. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you are looking for a way to track your applications, you can get that in my course. And as I said, we will link that networking guide below as well. But if you like today's episode, make sure that you tune back in next week for some more great advice.